Hey everyone, Anthony Fantano here, internet's busiest music nerd. Hope you're doing well. And it is time for another letter from a fan. Thanks for sending them in, guys. Answering some good letters, answering some good. I'm slurring my speech like the president because I'm just on a presidential mini stroke vibe right now. Sorry, guys. That was my attempt at humor. There you go. This letter comes from Carlos. Question/topic for the Fantano channel. You got it, buddy. We're doing it right now. I wanted to know your thoughts on the current state of hip-hop, specifically how rap music is seemingly being used as an easy way to make money. The most notorious recent example of this is Post Malone's comments on the genre, telling fans to stay away from it if they want to listen to some real shit. Not the exact quote, I'm paraphrasing, but you get the idea. A lot of people reacted to this by calling him a culture vulture, accusing him of using hip-hop as a way to get rich and or famous. I can't help but agree with them and with the idea that rapping is an easy way to make money because it seems like everyone's doing it now. YouTube stars like Jake Paul, etc., etc. A lot of SoundCloud stuff doesn't even sound like it took a lot of effort either. It seems like everyone and their mother are giving a shot at a rap career. My questions are, what do you think of Post Malone's comments and reaction to them? Do you think hip-hop is easy to make, and do you think that it's detrimental to the music or it's just a passing trend? Is it going to lower standards and dumb down hip-hop further, or do you think it could eventually introduce something interesting because of how many new artists there are going to be? Good question. Good question. So, yeah, hip-hop makes a lot of money right now. It's very popular. It's very trendy. And I feel like people are hopping on this trend just like they hop on most music trends because they are making money. I mean, how long ago was it that you had everybody jumping on the dubstep and EDM trend because Skrillex was so popular, Skrillex was so huge. Everybody wanted to be the next friggin' Diplo. Everybody wanted to be the next Steve Aoki. And while those guys are still cool and they still have careers and they still have lots of respect and success in the industry, the craze isn't quite as huge where you have so many people copycatting those guys and trying to be the next big, huge EDM DJ headlining at some EDM festival or something. Right now, flavor of the month, flavor of the year has been trap music. And the art form of hip-hop in general has really been kind of killing it in terms of charting and streaming this year. I read an article saying that R&B and hip-hop collectively are the most streamed genres out there right now. Most streamed and most consumed genres out there right now, is according to streaming numbers, according to the charts. So you do have a lot of people chasing after the dollar. You do have a lot of people chasing after success in the industry. And, honestly, it has more to do with just money. There are a lot of people out there, there are a lot of legitimate artists out there that want to create, want to communicate something through music, through art, and they want to do it in such a way where they're connecting with people, they're entertaining an audience. And because hip-hop is the zeitgeist at the moment, you have a lot of people chasing after that sound because they want to reach an audience. They want to reach out to people who are actually interested in hearing the music that they're making. So it just kind of makes sense, People are just kind of chasing after what is popular at the moment. And, honestly, after all this dies down and this hype is dead and it's not quite as much a craze as it used to be, hip-hop is still going to be there. Hip-hop is still going to be there. The fundamentals and the things that made the genre great to begin with are still going to be there. I will say for now, though, it seems like the requirements for talent and ability have been kind of lowered. And a lot of this has to do with just the raw aggression and blatant simplicity of a lot of the trap music sounds that are very popular right now. Not only that, but we've heard these sounds so much over the past decade, over this decade thus far, that it's all pretty well established. I feel like to a lot of younger music listeners, the fundamentals of a trap beat, the fundamentals of a triplet flow, like you don't even need to hard get the technicals of it. It's just sort of second nature, and you kind of already know the sound that you're going for without fully, truly understanding what it is that makes that sound tick. Again, just because we've been exposed to so many hours and hours and hours of this new music trend. As far as, in that popularity and that low bar of requirement for authenticity, for technical ability, does make it kind of easy not necessarily to get in the game, but to pull together a song in this style. And if you have a platform, if you have an endorsement from somebody who has a platform like Danielle Bergoli or Jake Paul, like you mentioned, or some of these Instagram dudes who are prankers, whatever, some of these Vine people, some of these other YouTube people like Rice Gum, they take their platform, they come through with a song that's really catchy, really trendy, excuse me, and before you know it, it friggin' takes off. And honestly, hip-hop has been used a lot since the 80s to communicate fast, easy messages in catchy songs to sort of make a quick buck. I mean, go back to the 80s, you have dozens upon dozens upon dozens upon dozens of very popular novelty rap songs that help sell things, sell products, help get jokes across. This is kind of not anything new entirely, but it's sort of feeling different because it's a new trend, it's a new wave, it's a new sound, it's a totally new context. As much as it is annoying, in my heart of hearts to see someone like, Bad Baby, Danielle Bergoli, getting signed by Atlantic Records, making as much headway in the industry as she is, I can't really blame her, and I can't really blame her label for picking her up because, I mean, goddamn, it's not like she isn't meeting the talent requirements for a lot of these trends in trap right now. She pretty much is. If you want to make it harder for someone like a Danielle Bergoli to step into the game and make noise and have a huge hit, have a big music video, and essentially change the landscape and really kind of steal the shine away from artists who are a little bit more legitimate in authenticity, in artistic expression, in style, then you've got to kind of provide the audience with a sound and a trend that is going to be a cut above and is going to be harder to copy. If the sound and the style that you're going with is really easy to copy, you're going to have copycats. You're going to have culture vultures just kind of swooping in and just pulling together a quick song for a quick buck, and that just kind of is what it is. As far as what Post Malone was saying, because I think this is worth mentioning in this video, because I originally did not address Malone's comments when that interview came out, because while I do think, taken out of the context of the situation, his statement was really bad, in the midst of that whole conversation that he was having, I could kind of see what he's saying, but it's still not a very good look, and it still doesn't make any sense, and it still, to me, is a reflection of just how many listeners in the millennial generation, though I don't think it's specifically a millennial thing, but maybe it's an upward trend, listen to music in like a very surface-level way. Like, oh, this genre is for these kinds of emotions, and this genre is for these kinds of emotions, when that couldn't be further from the truth. And even if we were to assume that Post Malone was 100% right, he didn't mean anything by it, and the only way that his comment, I think, would make the most sense is that if we limited his statement merely to just the current trends of mainstream hip-hop, all the trap music, all of the very melodic auto-tuned balladry with trap beats in the background, and completely put records like Damn out of our minds, or completely put records like To Pimp a Butterfly out of our minds. So even if we were to cut Post Malone some slack on that statement and say, okay, well, maybe he just meant this kind of hip-hop and blah, 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 blah. If that's how you feel, if that's truly how you feel, because truly it seems like you're an emotional person, seems like you're a dynamic person, and it seems like that realness and that emotion is something that you wish hip-hop had. If that's really how you feel, what are you doing to change that? You're not doing anything to change that. Like, you certainly weren't on your past album. I'm anticipating that that's not going to be the case on your new album, even though I think your Rockstar single is good, but what are you doing to change that? I mean, if it's going to be something you're going to critique the genre on and rip the genre apart on, then it should be something that you're actively working against or trying to alleviate or something. So that because of that, that his comments, even though I'm trying not to take them the wrongest of ways, they're still kind of annoying, and they still feel really out of pocket. So I think I'm going to leave it at that. yes, hip hop is really popular right now. Trap music actually is really popular right now. Like that's truly what is the poppy trend. Are people out there racking up listens on Spotify to hear, whoever's doing a jazz rap thing or an abstract hip hop thing? Sure, absolutely they are, but that is definitely not as as popular as whatever the next Migos project is going to be, Culture 2. And also, I do want to say that there's not necessarily a bad thing, about 100% bad things coming out of the fact that trap is as popular and is kind of a bit of a flagship product for the hip hop genre right now. Because I feel like a Migos or a Drake or a Kanye or a Jay-Z or whoever is the flavor of the month, even a Lil Yachty, can be a gateway to hip-hop music in general, which could lead to more underground stuff. And I feel like now, with the internet, thanks to platforms like SoundCloud, the lines sort of separating the underground from the mainstream have kind of blurred. And so you are getting these variants in the mainstream. You are getting some weirdos in the mainstream. You are getting some real experimentation in the mainstream. And you are getting some underground artists, not all, but certainly a decent amount, who are getting almost like mainstream numbers on their music videos, on their SoundCloud plays, on their Spotify plays. So I think there is at least like a little bit of a trickle-down theory with maybe some of these more popular artists kind of being a bit of a gateway drug to some of the more alternative stuff, some of the more underground stuff, which I think can kind of be reflected in the fact that you have rock music, which is no longer sort of dominating in the mainstream like it used to. And as a result, I feel like on the whole, there's a little less interest in underground rock music than there used to be. But that's just kind of a working theory for me, which I guess I personally kind of had my own experience with, which a lot of the rock music I used to listen to when I was a kid was like classic rock on the radio, was whatever mainstream sort of alternative 90s rock was on the radio. In the 2000s, a lot of nu metal and stuff like that. And then beyond there, I got into punk music, I got into noise music, I got into metalcore, I got into all sorts of underground styles of extreme and loud rock music. And I don't think I could have gotten there if not for all the rock music that I had been exposed to that was so much more popular and mainstream beforehand. And the same thing goes for hip hop too. I don't think I would have gotten into hip hop if it weren't for the fact that there were some really great and really popular mainstream artists on the radio who were making tracks that I thought were really good, like Outkast and Coolio, even friggin' Coolio. I don't think I would have gone from there, Dr. Dre, Tupac, all that stuff, Biggie, to listening to Public Enemy and listening to Boogie Down Productions. Also, when I was younger, really liked the Beastie Boys too. I don't think I would have listened to all of that much more underground and political stuff if it weren't for artists in the mainstream sort of turning me on to that sound to begin with. So I do think it's not all bad that hip hop does kind of have all this trap stuff kind of really kind of making waves, making noise, and turning a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise listen to hip-hop into hip-hop fans, because I think it's making the genre and the culture bigger, it's making it wider, it's creating more participants, it's creating a larger audience for everybody to partake in, and it's actually creating, I think, more diversity in the genre than there's ever been before. That might not seem like the case if you're just merely looking at the tippy top, where you have like Amigos or a Drake or a Kendrick and tons of people in that realm just like copying a lot of those same sounds that they helped forge. But when you go in the underground, you have all of these gay and trans and female rappers coming up now who, like, where the hell were these people before? Not that they didn't exist, but like they have a larger audience and they're getting way more buzz than they probably would have in the 90s. You have rappers out there who are just making crazy abstract alternative shit that have quite a large audience. Like, shout out to Open Mike Eagle, like that kind of record that he just came out with this year, Brick Body Kids, this whole amazing album about his childhood, his youth, gentrification, like that kind of album. Like, I don't think you would get that sort of record in the 2000s. Like, that's not a record that would have succeeded in the bling era, and maybe even could have been a tough sell to like the Stones Throw crowd, you know what I mean? So I feel like in the internet age, we're getting more diversity of expression. It's just that if you want to catch that spectrum of expression, you've got to be listening all over the place. You've got to be listening to the mainstream. You've got to be listening to the underground. You've got to be listening in the middle. And I think I'm going to leave it at that, guys. So those have been my thoughts. Hopefully I answered this question and this spiel wasn't too all over the place. Still sick. Hopefully I feel better soon. Love you, love you, love you. Over here next to my head is another video you can check out. Carlos, thank you for sending the email in. And I'll see you forever.